This is what the complementary color wheel will look like when it's completed. We did have to divide up the secondary colors, so the green, the orange, and the violet. And you can see here that we did go ahead and keep this first section whole, since we're only going to mix one of each secondary color rather than two. But what we did do was we kept this split in the middle here, so that way going across you're able to see the lower intensities of the split primary colors that we're working with. Primary cyan mixed with the orange going across this way, and then we have our ultramarine blue here mixed with the same orange going across this other way. Same thing here with the yellow. We have deep yellow, she went across this way here. Primary yellow went this way. And then with our scarlet, we used the same green for the scarlet and the magenta here. The magenta went across this way, and the scarlet's just going across this way. If you need to draw some light little lines going across so that way you don't get confused as you're working on this, that works. Just erase them when you're done. Okay, so for this video, I'm going to be showing you guys how to complete the complementary, or also known as low intensity, color wheel. So I'm gonna have all my paints off to the side here, some paper towels to clean my brushes, have my brushes, some palette paper or whatever you're using as a palette, a couple of cups of water here, and just some pieces of Bristol paper. You don't have to cut yours down, I'm just cutting mine down so that way it's easier for me to work in my small area. So because for this color wheel we're going to be working across, you'll notice that with our primary colors, the blues, the yellows, and the reds, this pie is cut into two, so the secondary color that's right across from it is not in two. So real quick before we get started painting, I'm just going to make those in halves real quick. So the yellow is right across from the violet here, so I'm just going to split the violet pie slice in half, and if you'll remember, all I did was make a little X in one of the sections in order to find the center. And now I'm just lining that up with where it cuts in half in the yellow, going across. And now with the red, complement. And last but not least, we have the blue. Complementary of blue is orange. Okay, now I'm just gonna erase my X's real quick. Okay, so like the other color wheel, I'm going to start off with my yellow. I went ahead and taped down just the edges. I felt like my edges got a little messy on the last one. Remember that whenever you're using tape to stick it on like your pants or some fabric before putting it down on the paper, so that way it loses some of that tackiness so it doesn't rip up parts of your paper. So I'm going to start with the yellow. And then I'm not sure how much this actually helps, but I'm just going to put a couple of drops of water on the paint itself to hopefully let it stay a little moist a little bit longer. Remember, I'm just mixing some of the pigment here in the water, making sure it's well incorporated before I go ahead and start painting. Next, I'm going to go ahead and mix up a violet color, so that way I can go ahead and work across here. So remember to mix violet, we're just going to be using the ultramarine blue and our magenta. You can also have your other color wheel handy in case you need a quick refresher of like what violet color worked out best for you. So I think this is pretty close to that violet that we had, just so that way you're not making something that's a little bit more violet blue or violet red. You just want like a true violet color. I just need to mix up a little bit more of it. Actually, you need to mix up a pretty good amount of the secondary color, so go ahead and do that. And since I'm only working with one violet, you can actually erase this first little section here. And I'll just go ahead and fill that in. Okay, so now that I have this, what I'm going to do here is just take some of the primary yellow. I'll just start with primary yellow since it's lighter. Go ahead and mix it up. And then I'm just going to put a little bit of the violet in this. I'm actually going to mix up a good amount for this little petal here. Okay, so it's kind of like a mustardy yellow now. So remember that this is the primary yellow, so I'm just going to place that right here. Okay, and since I'm going to want to probably come back to this one after it dries a little bit, I'm just breaking off another little puddle of that same color, and I'm going to add more of the violet to it. So this made like more of a kind of light brown color. Alright, I'm probably still going to come back to that one, but breaking off more of that color, and try to take note of what color you already made. Just adding a little bit more of the violet. And it's a lot deeper than this color here, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And try to remember that we're going exactly across. And I'll just fill in this inner section. Alright, so now I'm just going to go ahead and do this exact same thing to the deep yellow. Next, I'm just going to be going across from the blue to the orange. So I'm going to go ahead and just erase this little line. We'll just have one little orange section, keeping that. I'm just going to go ahead and fill in my cyan. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and mix my orange. Remember that we're going to be using the deep yellow and the scarlet. Right here I messed up and I started using the primary yellow. So, just going to redo that now. Going with orange to cyan. Next, I'm going to do the red-orange going across to the green-blue. Okay, next I need to mix up a green-blue, so that's going to be me mixing the cyan with the primary yellow. Okay, so off camera, all I did was fill in my magenta and the scarlet. Those are just right out of the tube. Last, all I have to do is going across violet red to yellow green and green to our two reds here. So again, this is our secondary color green. So I'm just going to go ahead and erase that since we're just going to make one green, or one true green, I guess I could say. To do the true green, remember we are using the primary yellow and the cyan. Okay, so scarlet, I had to mix up some more green real quick, but green to scarlet. yellow green and work my way across to a red violet that I will also go ahead and mix up. Okay, so here is the complementary color wheel completed. So you can see that we made a lot of nice olive greens and then some colors that are maybe closer to gray and also a lot of browns. This color wheel is just kind of bringing down the intensity of these prismatic colors that we have going around the edge here. I messed up in a few places because I was kind of in a rush. I know that all of you will do much better though. After you've worked on these, you can see that it's kind of, I don't even know, what is this? It's like warped. You can just put it back in your Bristol pad and then just like put it under your mattress or, you know, just put some books over the Bristol pad with this in it, and that should help flatten it out. So that way you can take a good image of it for our progress photos. And I kept frequently cleaning my water as well as getting new sheets of palette paper. So that's something that you might be interested in doing just to try to help you keep your paper pretty nice and clean as you're working on this.